Hey, Michael here. We're going to run capability analysis 6-pack in Minitab. We've got our data file loaded here. This is capability.mtw. We're going to go to Stat, Quality Tools, Capability 6-pack, and we're going to select normal. We're not exactly sure if the data is normal, but we could run a normality test and then come back and then select normal. One of the things we'll learn in the capability 6-pack is that it runs normality for us, so we can check for normality with that output, and if it is normal, then we won't have to redo it. So let's select normal. We're going with thickness, subgroup size of 1, and our lower spec is 10.44, upper spec is 10.96. and we are going to say OK. Here's our capability analysis 6-pack output. This is the individuals chart. One of the first things we need to do is assess control or stability in order for capability analysis to be valid. This individuals chart is in control. It's not showing any out of control data points. We ran test number 1, which is any point greater or less than 3 sigma from the center line. The moving range chart also in control, so that's a good indication. And then we have our normality plot right here, and so you can see 0.699, which is greater than 0.05. So we will fail to reject the null on normality and assume that it is normal. And then for capability histogram, you can see that the histogram of our data set is, in terms of width, well within the width of the upper and lower specification limits. It is, however, shifted up towards the upper specification limits. So that's going to be indicative for us to say the important capability metric that we're going to look at is CPK and PPK. Because that's going to tell us whether or not the mean to the USL or the mean to the LSL is greater or less than 3 sigma. And so we'll hop down here to our capability plot, and we'll notice that the PPK is 1.0 and our CPK is 1.4. So the Automotive Industry Action Group suggests that the PPK should be 1.67 or greater and CPK should be 1.33 or greater. If you want to follow those stringent guidelines, then you would say this is not capable. But in a lot of common business cases, if you have a capability of 1 or greater, it suggests that the distance between the mean and the upper specification limit, or the mean and the lower specification limit, whichever is smaller, is equal to 3 standard deviations or 3 sigma. And therefore, we can conclude that this process is capable if we don't have serious stringent guidelines. The other thing, we mentioned that the distance or the spread of this distribution fits well within the upper and lower specification limits, and that is quantified by PP and CP. And PP is 3.88 with CP of 4.05. So we've got a lot of room for this thing to move around. If we have an improvement effort in play here, I would say that we would seek to try to shift the mean towards the center of the distance between the lower and upper specification limits and maintain our current degree of variation, because the variation shown by this process is narrow enough to fit well within the specification limits. And so there you have it, process capability 6-pack.